Hey guys, happy Saturday and welcome to another edition of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So not a heck of a lot to talk about today. Had a couple folks come in and had some good chats with them. I'll go into that a little later, but let's start in with what I did do, which as you can see, put the wheels and tires on 64 Deluxe bus and didn't put the hubcaps on because we still have to paint the logos and no point in popping those on and off more times than needed. So those will go on once the logos on them are painted. But yeah, what a difference. Having those incorrect wheels on there was, I think, really kind of dragging this bus down. You may remember we had like 66, 67 Beetle wheels on there. Just some rollers that we keep around the shop for cars that may not have their own wheels and tires yet. But now it's got the real deal here. So 15-inch bus rims, which are technically not correct for a 64, but they're what we had to use because of the rear disc brake kit. And, you know, I think they look good on there. Honestly, I like the looks of, personally like the looks of 15-inch bus wheels more than 14s anyway. But that aside, they fit on there. They clear the brakes now. Those of you that follow the channel know that I spent quite a bit of time clearancing the calipers and so on and so forth. And ended up running a half-inch spacer on the back, which you can see, and none of that's going to show once the hubcap and stuff is on. But yeah, really happy with how it's looking, and honestly, I think that the spacer was the right thing to do. Like, regardless of the brake clearance, having the wheel out a bit more this way to me just makes it look better versus having them tucked way in there. So the front wheel is tucked a bit. That is, if I remember right, we put a 2-inch narrow beam on there. But again, because the bus is lower, that helps us get some clearance for steering and stuff like that. So a little bit of tuck on the front, and the back, less tuck at least than there would be without a spacer. So this bus is getting super close. As you can see, the back is still sitting a bit high. Still got a little positive camber, probably a little less if it was actually driven, but I had the bus backed up in the shop when I put the wheels and tires on, and then fired it up and just kind of pulled it forward, but probably not really enough for it to really settle. So I think what I need to do is take the bus around the block or something quick and get it to actually like settle wherever that happens to be in the back, and then take some measurements and see how much I want to bring the back down and then bring the front down accordingly. The bus is sitting pretty level right now. It might even be a tad bit higher in front, but nonetheless, I need to adjust the back and then bring the front down to look appropriate. I'll probably leave a little bit of positive camber on the back here. Not this much, obviously, but this customer does love throwing his family in his buses and hauling them around and just having a good time with it. So I want to make sure that when he gets it all loaded up with kids and their friends and stuff like that, that the thing doesn't then become too low. So probably go ahead and err on the side of leaving it a bit high. Plus, apparently he has a kind of steep driveway that if a bus is too slammed, it causes issues entering and exiting his driveway. So again, I want to leave it as high as I can, but right now I think that's a bit too much camber on the back. It looks kind of weird, so kind of minimize that a little bit, and we should be golden. So hubcaps and next, and then as I mentioned before, he's got some bitchin' new old stock fog lights that are going to go on. We need to make some custom brackets for those. Interior front door panels, rear hatch panel, and I think there may be another accessory or two, and that's basically it. So this thing, I'm expecting to finish it probably not this week necessarily, but I think pretty comfortably the following week we'll have it done, and he can come get it. So that brings me to one of our guests that we had visiting the shop today. So this was a fellow named Andy from Hawaii. Hey, Andy, if you're watching, thanks for coming by. So Andy has a 54, which is So it's a 54 bus, which makes it a barn door. So those are the really early kind of first generation of bus, even predating the split windows like you see here. I mean, they're still split windows, but they're kind of like an earlier version of the chassis, and lots of differences between those and later split window buses. Kind of similar to like equivalent of maybe like a split window Beetle, where there's just a lot of stuff that was very different than even on like say an oval window or something would probably be the closest equivalent. Anyway, so Andy has a very nice 54 barn door combi right-hand drive. That's a mouthful. And he wants to bring it in for us to do a number of things on. One is to hopefully put rebuild his motor and put an Ocrasa kit on it with dual carbs. That's going to be a fun and interesting challenge, because on the barn doors, the rear hatch goes up to here, up to the belt line. And then when you open that huge hatch for the engine, the gas tank then is kind of sitting about here, kind of above and to the driver's side of the motor. And those dual carb kits will not fit with that gas tank sitting right there. So we're going to have to do some creative problem solving. I think I've got a number of ideas here that are probably good options. So he wants that, and we'll probably go ahead and punch out his motor to maybe like a 1400 cc, give him a little bit more power, a little bit more confidence, and frankly work better with the Ocrasa kit than a 1200 cc motor, in my opinion. What else? Probably rewire the car. He wants us to go through the brakes. I don't remember off the top of my head if he said the transmission, but he's had the car and he's driven it, but it's been kind of unreliable, and there's just some things he's not really comfortable with. So he's going to ship it over here from Hawaii and let us work our magic on it. And so that bus is probably, we talked today, and probably try and get it over here about the end of February. So that timing should work out pretty well with this guy here leaving and kind of opening up that spot. We do have other cars also that'll be leaving, but I like to think of certain spots and you know what car goes in them. And so I think Andy's bus is going to go in this guy's spot, which may not be here at the time. Maybe it'll be there, maybe it'll be there, maybe it'll even be here. Who knows? You guys know we like to move our cars around depending on what stage they are in the project. But anyway, so thanks again, Andy, for coming by and for bringing your friend by, and for the delicious chocolate-covered macadamia nuts. Already dug into those, and man, are they good. So that's one guy that stopped by. The other guy that stopped by is somebody I used to work with in my previous life as a medical device guy, and he's actually kind of interested in getting a Porsche, potentially one that's a project. And as you guys know, it just so happens that I've got this 69 911T Targa. Long story short, with this car, the widow that I bought it from, her husband wrecked the car, pretty much just smashed up the front fender in like 91 or 92, drove the car home, parked it. He collected parts for the car over many, many years. He passed away, I think maybe just a couple years ago. Anyway, so she sold the car to me, and I took it on as kind of a personal project slash shop project, wanting to get into actually working on Porsches here at Vintage Classic Specialist. So I thought the best way to get into working on them is to work on one. And so until a customer is ready to bring one in, I brought our one in on our own. So, but anyway, so he might be interested in acquiring this car from me and then having us do some work on it, maybe like in stages, like get it running and driving first. Excuse me, maybe a paint job, maybe the interior eventually. So let's see, I got to work up some numbers and excuse me, send those to him. So yeah, we'll see. But one way or another, I need to get back on that car, and hopefully I will find time here later this winter to work on that thing, because I want to drive that thing. It's going to be super fun. Anyway, so that's it for today, guys. Pretty much the big thing was getting this guy on its wheels and tires. I did, as you guys know, and if somebody doesn't know what I'm talking about, anytime you have wheels freshly painted or powder coated, you really need to go and remove the paint and powder coat from the areas where the lugs seat on these. So you don't want the lugs like sitting against powder coating and paint, because you don't really get a true torque value, and they can actually come loose. I know of some instances of that happening. Luckily not from us, because we always do that, but go back and check my tech tips if you don't know what I'm talking about. I go into a little bit more detail on it. But yeah, that actually takes a while to do, because you want to do it carefully and not scratch the wheels all up. I use a rotary file and go in and carefully remove all the paint from the area that this lug nut sits. So took a while to do that, all 5 wheels, and then mount them up again, the back with spacers. And I did check, and thank goodness the spare actually fits in its location there. Just kind of sitting in there now. It's not actually mounted up. I just wanted to make sure it fit in there so I didn't have any surprises later down the road when, you know, say the customer comes to get the car and we find out the spare won't fit or something dumb like that. So pretty happy to see that went in there. Okay, so for real now, that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys again Monday. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. Bye.